or reality. Lucid Dreaming with Kelly Sullivan Walden. Have you ever wondered if you could influence someone in your dreams, and if so, do you think the clandestine government experiments with Dreamwork? We talk about that tonight here at the Leap Project. Tonight's guest is Kelly Sullivan Walden, and she is the leading expert on Dreamwork, a best-selling author, clinical hypnotherapist, and inspirational thinker with a heart of gold. Kelly has been jokingly called the love child of Carl Jung and Lucille Ball, and has reached millions of people with her fun and illuminating message on national talk shows such as Dr. Oz, Ricky Lake, Huffington Post Live, Coast to Coast, Playboy Radio, Jenny McCarthy Radio, and Fox News. Now, ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes during recordings there will be interference, and as I often call them, Skype gremlin attacks in a joking manner. And depending on the topic, as well as depth of discussion, there might be one disconnection, there might be 2 or 3, usually not more than that though. Now, during this presentation, Kelly and myself noticed that when certain topics were brought up, either her audio would mute or my end would. We reconnected over a dozen times during this show, and we were able to put together a very strong presentation that really makes you think. Have you ever seen the movie Dreamscape? It came out back in 1984 with Dennis Quaid. Remember the guy that could go into people's dreams and turn into a big reptilian? Literally the first reptilian shapeshifter. Now that I think about it, the first movie that I saw, at least that I can remember, that had a reptilian shapeshifter in it was Dreamscape. Go back to that film, watch it. If you don't watch the film, just look up the trailer on YouTube or something, because you'll catch what I'm talking about. It's really interesting when you go back and think about the movies that you saw growing up as a kid, or even maybe recently. If you break down the characters, the roles that they play, the situations that they're in, you start to learn these archetypes, and then you start to connect the images that they portray literally to the subconscious mind. And when you can pick up on that stuff, folks, it's a whole new world. Not only of excitement, of a depth of understanding, knowledge, synchronicity, and it's spooky too. When you get to that level and you start to see everything at a grand scale, or see more things, I should say, at a grand scale, you can see the yin, the yang, and what that creates. It seems as if in this dual universe that we reside in, these polarities create new objects, new opportunities, new realities. The red, the blue, the left, the right, the dark, the light. How can you have one without the other? I don't know. We're going to break down real quick. I want to break down what we talk about in this presentation. So not only do we discuss how to influence others, yourself, reality with dreams, Kelly gives us a depth of knowledge on what certain dreams mean. She shares with us a couple of personal dreams that she's had. Now, there's a new TV series right now coming out on the USA Network called Falling Waters, and that's an interesting sync in relating into what we're discussing here, as well as some of you guys, I'm sure, have heard of that underground base, or that supposed underground base in Dulce, New Mexico, that has several underground floors, and the further down you go, the scarier it's supposed to get. Well, the infamous Level 6 supposedly deals with dream manipulation, mind control, and soul siphoning. Many ancient cultures say the dream world is more real than the waking world, and more important. Have you ever had a lucid dream where you could actually control the outcome of what you were doing? Like a mad scientist almost, creating matter out of air? I've done it many times. I don't always get exactly what I'm trying to create, though. It's like there's still even variables in the dream world. I'll get really close sometimes, and sometimes I'll get exactly what I want. Become a dream warrior and learn how to influence your future in reality when awake. Also, make sure to become a contributing member at Leap Project. You'll get access to exclusive content and help Leap Project grow. The more funds Leap Project gets, the better treasures we can bring you, the audience. It's expensive to go on scene for stories. Just the fuel alone isn't cheap. Then you've got the equipment, lodging, travel expenses, etc. And I do my best to pay for that out of my own pocket. We've done a few mini trips this year that have been great. And we want to do a full countrywide tour this year as well. So we'll get there. I want to continue to keep Leak Project free also. So if we can offer a quality service or product as well on top of the free service, we have an exclusive membership opportunity at leakproject.com for $10 a month, you guys. You can listen to the podcast commercial free. You can download them to your computer, to your phone, so you can listen to them on the road. You can listen to them streaming anytime on the site as well. You won't have the commercial breaks in between. And if we can get some contributing members on the Leak Project, that'll be fantastic. That'll really help us grow and get more material. And also, we've got some high-end decals for $10 you can pick up at the Leak Project. They're limited edition. We're only going to make a certain amount of those. And also available for a limited time, we're only making a limited amount of these as well, are quality, tag-free, pre-shrunk cotton Leak Project shirts. Pick yours up today and be a part of history. You can listen to our shows free at any time at leakproject.com, also youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord, and of course our William Wallace channel. Any other YouTube channels that are featuring our work are pirated and done so without permission. So thank you all that brought that to our attention. Enjoy this podcast and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Talk to you soon. All right, folks. Well, we have a real treat for you tonight here at the Leak Project. Kelly Sullivan Walden is with us, and she is going to bring more awareness about dreams. So this is incredible. I've always been fascinated with dreams. I myself have had lucid dreams before where I knew I was dreaming, and I felt like a mad scientist because I could kind of create things in my dreams, but they didn't come out quite the way I wanted them to always. So, so thanks a lot for joining us. How are you?
It's a pleasure to be with you, Rex. Thank you so much. It's a beautiful lucid dream to get to co-create with you today. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. If you would, for our audience, not everybody's heard of you, so tell us a little bit about yourself, and then let's jump into dreams.
Sure. Oh, wow. Where do I start? I have always been into dreams since I was a little kid. I think most of us will say that when we were kids, we were into dreams. And then as we grew up, as we became adults and got serious about life, our dreams kind of tapered off. And for me, that wasn't the case. Dreams there was a period of time where I stopped paying attention to dreams, probably during my 20s when my life became much more external. And during that time, I hit an existential crisis where my reality had become so focused on the people, places, and things outside of me, and I had lost my connection with my inner life, that when things started to fall apart externally, I was an actress, and I had a teacher that was kind of my mentor who was shaping me to be like the next Michelle Pfeiffer. And I crossed him, and he said, "That's it, you're out." And I felt like I fell from grace, and he literally played the death march when he sent me out of class, and I thought I should die. And it wasn't just kind of a funny, quippy thing. It was something that I literally thought I would have to do because I'd put all my faith and all of my power into into Hollywood, basically, in the form of this man. And when that fell apart, I thought I should really die. And that was the crisis point that was really the blessing in disguise, because it was at that moment that I began the inward journey. I began to turn within. I began to look for answers internally. I started with the first thing that crossed my path, which was a 12-step program, and another 12-step, and another 12-step. And then I started going back to church. I started to study with shamans. I became a hypnotherapist. I went on this wild inner journey. And a few years into it, my dreams started to come back with a vengeance. And they were negative. They were really the stuff of horrible nightmares, like, Wes Craven, and I would have loved my nightmares for fodder for new screenplays. And I had a therapist that said, well, a nightmare is an unfinished dream. And that was the phrase that turned me inside out. That was yet another turning point where I thought, oh my God, that means that my dreams aren't over just because I woke up from those dreams. I need to go back inside of those nightmares and finish them because I have directorial input. So I started to practice that, and not completely in the way that a regular lucid dreamer would, in a way that seems like it's cheating, but it really isn't. Turns out it's called imagery rehearsal therapy at Harvard and all kinds of great educational institutions. They say that if you work with dreams, even in the waking state, if you're not able to do it in the lucid state, which I have been able to do on a few occasions, but it's a completely legitimate practice to take a nightmare, the memory of it, and in a meditative state, imagine that you could control the outcome and change it and go with it where you want it to go, and the dream isn't over until you're empowered. So I started to do that with these recurring nightmares that I was having that were really about me giving my power away. And I started to take my power back. And I also learned from Carl Jung. I started studying a lot about his perspective. For those who aren't familiar, he's the late great father of psychotherapy. He and Freud kind of put dreams on the map for modern dreamers. Anyway, Carl Jung's perspective is that everyone and everything in the dream is you. So I started to see myself not as a victim any longer of these horrible people that I had attracted into my life. I started to see that they were shadow aspects of myself seeking integration. So those perspectives, the point of view that our nightmares are unfinished dreams, and the perspective that everyone and everything in the dream is us, those were incredibly empowering pillars to what we could say is the new temple that I've built for myself in my life. And then as a hypnotherapist, I began working with clients and suggesting that they finish the therapy that we started in their dreams as a way to expedite the process that we were in the midst of. So that caused a lot of my clients to come back to our next session with highly intensely remembered dreams, and we would pick up the session where those dreams left off, and it would take us on a quantum journey as opposed to kind of tiptoeing one's way through the morass of psychobabble that we can do if we're in the midst of a struggle. The dreams just seem to quickly expedite the process of healing and transformation. So that became a path for me, not only for myself personally, but as an offering to people in my life that were stuck or that were feeling disempowered. And so that became something that I started to do. And at some point within a week span, when you hear from people, 3 different unrelated people all within the same week, you know that you got to pay attention. And in 1 week's time, I had 3 different clients say, you should write a book about your perspective on dreams, because they always make me feel really good about myself. And most dream books out there have me feel like there's something really wrong with me for the dreams that I'm having. And I took
That's
that
terrible.
yeah, well, I think, for example, there's some dream dictionaries. If you look up fire, for example, some would say it might signal that impending doom is on the horizon, or that there's something wrong with you. And in my dictionary, fire is an accelerator. It means that there's change happening, and you may be burning through something rapidly, or the transformation may not be the baby step kind of transformation, but it may be fast and furious. And whatever doesn't burn away, consider that that's solid, that's something worth keeping. So anyway, there's a kind of not a Pollyanna perspective, but a perspective that really, and I grabbed this from Einstein. I've grabbed things from Carl Jung and from Einstein. Why not? Einstein said that everything in the universe is working on behalf of our greatest good, and that the most important question we can ask is this universe friendly? And he decided, after all of his learning through and experimenting throughout his lifetime, that yes, the universe is indeed friendly. And I believe that that's the case with our dreams. If the dreams are a part of the universe, then even the scary ones are friendly, meaning that they're on our side. So that became the kind of the premise of my first book. And I got a book deal with Warner Books, which was a huge deal for me to be a first-time author and to have this, huge publishing company believe in me and believe in what I was doing. And that kind of set me off on this course to right now I've written a total of 9 books, 6 of them on dreams, and I'm in the process of writing my 10th book on dreams, and it's become my whole world. And I'm also pitching a TV show on dreams and Dreamwork. So it's something that not only do I do at night, but it's what I do by day. And I really am on a mission to help to awaken the world to the power of dreams. And that, Rex, brings me to you.
Oh, that's fantastic. And I certainly appreciate the dreams that I have had before. Sometimes they take me to a completely different level in thought. I mean, a few of them specifically stand out, but I remember about 8 years ago No, I'd say even longer than that. Time flies. About 10 years
Yeah.
ago, when I had my first out-of-body experience, it was even a little bit longer than that. It wasn't intentional. You know, I mean, I was just going to sleep. I had an out-of-body experience, and it really spooked me. And I did it twice in one night. But after that, I really started to research hermetics, certain astral projection, lucid dreaming, mind over matter type stuff. And I started to keep a dream journal. And some of the dreams that I had during that time, literally, I feel changed my life. Even to this day, have had a substantial impact. So I do feel that dreams are really important. And you know, what do you say to those people that have a lot of dreams where they'll start flying around? Like they'll see their friends, they'll be like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they'll just start not flying like a bird, but almost like you've got a jetpack on your back.
Right. Well, before I answer that question, I just want to acknowledge you for your journey into dreams and out of body and all of that. And what a wonderful initiation that you opened up to. And congratulations to you for not just letting that be a cool experience and that you kind of put in a photo album, like, your Hall of Fame, but you took it and because a lot of people have these experiences. I would say everybody has had something like this, whether it happened in a dream or in their life, or a loved one passes away and they see an aura or something opens up. But I think the average person just goes, okay, that was weird, whatever, move on, and they get back to normal life. And I think that where you should be acknowledged is that you had that experience and then you milked it for all it was worth. You let it propel you on your hero's journey, and here you are right now. And I think that's awesome. And I hope more of us do that, because I think everyone who's listening has either had a big dream, whether at night or in their day, or they're about to have it. And I hope that by listening to this, people really get inspired to do something with those dreams, to let it propel you down some path, let it inspire you to make a phone call or to open up a book on the subject, or to do some action that honors the dream. And then I think in that process, our lives are changed in a really positive way. So with that, about flying dreams, I think flying dreams are amazing. And again, just like I said to you, you milked it for all it's worth. I think we should milk our flying dreams for all they're worth, because those dreams, no matter how you slice it, whether you fly like a fish and you're kind of doing the backstroke, or if you fly like an angel, or if you just beam yourself, however you fly, it's rarely terrifying. It's mostly exhilarating. And I think at the very least, it's connecting us with our spiritual aspect. It's connecting us to who we are without a body, or before we had a body, or who we will be when we don't have a body, or who we are even though we have a body, but it's our spiritual aspect is 99.9% of who we are. And we're 0.5% body. And most of us identify ourselves with our bodies, but when we're having these flying dreams, we remember that we're more than this. And if we let those dreams, they can be an awakening tool. I was on the radio with Shadow Stevens. I don't know if you remember him. Do you remember who he is, Rex?
Off the top of my head, I don't.
He was like one of those classic rock DJs from, I don't know, back in the 70s and 80s.
Kind of like Casey Kasem, kind of.
Exactly, but late night, and not late night, but he was like the rock, like that voice, Shadow Stevens. Anyway, really cool dude. And I got to be interviewed by him, and he was kind of playing the role of the skeptic, like, dreams, what's the point of dreams, blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, I did have this one dream, and he described this flying dream that he had, and where he went, and all the different places and the people that he saw, just like the question that you asked. Like, he was able to go wherever he wanted, and it was so empowering. And you should have seen his face. Even though this interview was done on the radio, we were in person, and I could see a completely different person show up, from the cynical dude that was kind of like, yeah, been there, done that, to all of a sudden it was like this little boy showed up that was completely magical and completely connected to the realm of infinity and spirit and soul. And I was like, oh my God, who is this person? And I said on the air, you should see this guy who just changed just by talking about a dream. And he had this dream like a month before the interview. So my perspective is that if we talk about these dreams, share about them with somebody, meditate on them, it's like they reinfuse that soul juice back into our ordinary state until, wouldn't it be great if that became, by virtue of us practicing it, that became normal, that state of being. And I believe that if we practice meditating on those dreams, or at least talking about them, we will become like the 2.0 version of ourselves. So those are not dreams that we should take lying down at all. Those are big dreams. Really important.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of different dream experts out there, and everybody's got their own unique niche with that. What makes you different, would you say?
Oh, wow. I think I come to dreams. I kind of backed into dreams. I didn't go after them deliberately. They were like I'm like a fish in water, and I didn't even realize that I'd been swimming my whole life until somebody acknowledged it and brought it to my attention, and until I was kind of like on dry land and gasping for air, wondering where they went. But I think I have a unique personal connection that starts from, as I shared with you earlier, when I was young. They really were a part of my life, and that it really never left, except for that dry period during my 20s. But I've studied with all kinds of people, shaman and hypnotherapists and spiritual teachers and people from just a super eclectic background. And I not there's a lot of dream experts that are really pretty highly academic and book smart about dreams, and that's not me. I've studied some, and I do know some of the facts and figures, but mostly my experience is direct experience and intuition, although it's kind of a hybrid of art and shamanism and my crazy life, and with the end result, me not wanting to claim to be an expert over anyone, but an expert in that I'm a frequent flyer. I dream and pay attention to dreams every day, so I can help people as a guide to reconnect with their own dream wisdom. But the intent is to always reconnect people back to their own ability to do it for themselves, to not rely on me. I always tell I have dream life coaches that I train, and the first thing that I tell them is that our job as a dream life coach, somebody that works with dreams, is to work our way out of a job. We want our clients to become so empowered that they don't need us. And that's a really good moment when that happens. So it's really about putting the power back into the hands of our clients and in the hands of anybody who's curious about dreams.
Fantastic. And there's, I think, 4 pillars of dream work that you essentially talk about. And I was wondering if you could share that with us here at the Leak Project.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned a couple of them. So I've got the notion that everyone and everything is an aspect of our dreams. So these are kind of pillars that I use in paying attention to dreams and interpreting dreams. So if somebody's going, okay, well, how do I interpret dreams? This is one of the quick shortcuts for how to interpret a dream. Look at every character as if it was you and notice how it's interacting. For example, I often will look at dreams from the perspective of masculine, feminine. And I was talking with somebody the other day, and I've known her for a long time, and I know her pattern. And in her dreams, there's always some guy who's a jerk, and there's her that's kind of being insulted by the guy. And I can't help but see that it's her inner masculine that she's denied or that she's not honored, that's really pissed off. And he's come to call in the dream to kind of rattle the feminine aspect of her. So it's not, maybe there are some people that she's struggling with in her waking life, but it's more important, I think, to look at the characters in the dream as if they were aspects of her. And then there was somebody the other night that had a dream where these two, where a man and a woman, were arguing, and then in the end they worked it out and got married. And I would say then the masculine and feminine aspects found their way into wholeness, and they came together, and there's a reward that comes as a result of that. So one pillar is all characters in our dream are us. All people, places, and things are us. And another pillar is that there's no such thing as a bad dream, that all of our dreams come to us in the service of health, healing, and wholeness. And another pillar is that our dreams are about power. And this is kind of a huge topic. And for Rex, I'm not sure if you've heard that Marianne Williamson quote. A lot of people have. Nelson Mandela quoted it in his '94 inaugural speech. It starts with, "Our greatest fear is not that we are. Our greatest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our greatest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure." Are you familiar with that quote?
No, I've never heard it.
Yeah. Well, that to me says it all. It's like we are so powerful, and most of us are terrified of how powerful we actually can be. So when we were little kids, we knew we were powerful. We knew we were magic. We knew we could connect with other realms. We knew that we could imagine things and create things. And yet we were told, don't be a bad boy, don't be a bad girl, stop that, stop that, stop that. And little by little, we kind of shrunk ourselves into a nice little box that is nice and functional, but so much of our power has been owned. And our dreams, especially the scary ones, are often those disempowered aspects of ourselves, those shadow aspects of ourselves coming to call in the night because they want to be reintegrated. So, if we talk about any nightmare, we could just say, well, that's an aspect of power that's been shoved in a closet so long that it's coming out with a vengeance and with fangs and it's chasing you. But if you look at it at its essence, how might that energy, that animal energy, it's often an animal that comes chasing us or a dark figure, how might that energy actually benefit you in your life to make you healthier, wealthier, happier? And ultimately, the final pillar in one way of looking at it is that our dreams are the ultimate awakening tool. Our dreams are helping us to wake up to who we really are. They're highly functional, they're highly practical. Our greatest ideas, inventions, solutions come to us in our dreams. So it would behoove us to go out of our way to wake up and pay attention to them first thing in the morning, even if it's just for 5 minutes.
Do you keep a dream journal then?
Oh yeah, I wouldn't leave home without it. Even though these days my dream journal is more, I use an app, and that's it's a high tech day and age that we live in. So a lot of the apps that we can use on our smartphones help to make our lives easier. So there's a dream journal online. It's called Dreams Cloud, and it makes it easy to record dreams. You just press a button and you record your voice, and then it transcribes it. And then of course sometimes it transcribes it incorrectly, just as Siri does on your iPhone. But, it's a great way to be able to recall and record a dream without too much fuss. Because I used to find that I would write down all my dreams first thing in the morning, but because I would be in that in-between groggy, sleepy state, often what I would write down would be indecipherable once I woke up. So now with this app, it makes it a lot easier to record dreams and be able to go back and look at it later once I'm awake. How about you, Rex? Do you keep a dream journal?
I have not recently, and it's probably something that would be a good idea because when I was doing it before, they got so intense. And then I went back and looked at some of the dreams that I have had, and just certainly incredible.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I like to say, I quote this in my book, It's All in Your Dreams. If you take one step toward your dreams, they'll take 10 steps toward you. So just by the simple act of acknowledging, even if it's just one small piece of a dream each morning, that's enough to bridge the gap and to have your dreams know that you're paying attention to them, and then they tend to get more intense and more magical.
Have you ever had a dream that somebody else had as well? Shared dreams?
Oh, well, yeah, that was part of my early days of Dreamwork. It was a game my sister and I would play as little kids. I've got 4 sisters, and my sister Shannon and I are closest in age, and we always used to share a room, and we would often have dreams together where we were inside a similar dreamscape. The first dream I remember was around Halloween, and I'm sure it was triggered because my aunt used to always dress up like a big scary witch. But in the dream, there was a scary witch that was chasing us around the turrets of the castle, and my sister was having a similar dream. And I told her that because I was so scared by this dream that I wanted to figure out how I could change the dream. And she and I, in our waking state, decided that we were going to do something to the witch. So she threw the witch over the edge, and I shrunk the witch down to like the size of an ant. So in the same night, we both were inside a similar dream, but doing something different. So we woke up and had that dream to share. And there's been so many dreams since then, but because we're kind of psychically on a similar page. And now that we're adults, we still will have dreams where we're in a similar dreamscape, we're having a similar dream theme, and it really serves the purpose of making us closer and having us really understand each other on a cellular basis, not just kind of on the surface, the way that most people kind of interact.
Absolutely. And a couple of movies that I think of in regards to movies. The first one that comes to mind is a film that came out in 1984 called Dreamscape. And
I think I've seen that.
Oh yeah, I mean it's a classic. Especially with as many books as you've written on dreams, I'd strongly recommend watching it. And also Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously, Freddy Krueger. So, do you think you can influence and possibly cause harm or good via dreams?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that you ask this question in an interesting way. So of course, you can to us how we want to use that energy. And I obviously want to encourage everybody to use their dream power in a way that is only positive, and because it all comes back to you anyway. So why would you want to hurt yourself or anyone else? And consider that everyone in your waking dream is also an aspect of you. So we would only want to help have people's lives be better. And I've known many people. There's a friend of mine years ago who was going through cancer treatments, and he was given less than 6 months to live. And he was a big dreamer, and we had a pretty big dream community, and he rallied a bunch of people together to help him dream on a solution. And interestingly, there wasn't one clear-cut solution, but it was almost like everybody dreamt something, like a little piece of a mosaic, a piece of a puzzle. And the bottom line is, 20 years later, he is cancer-free. I think we can dream for other people. We can dream for solutions. We can dream for the world. There's actually a group of really advanced dreamers that, the kind of dreamers that get hired by governmental agencies to be able to see what other people are doing in other countries, like really advanced dreamers that are working together within the United Nations to dream on solutions to world issues.
Is that different than the remote viewers out there, such as Ed Dames and Daz Smith, etc.?
It's definitely related. It's the men that stare at goats, just like that. Yeah, these are people
like
that
Lynn Buchanan.
I don't know the name, but I'd say probably yes. If it's yeah. So there's people that everyone's got their superpower, and some of the people that I'm connected to, really dreams are their modality for being able to access other realms or other places that they wouldn't, by the laws of physics, they shouldn't be able to know or see. Or influence, and yet they are able to. So yes, we can influence people, places, and things. There was a guy that sent me an email not that long ago, saying that there was a woman that he was or is madly in love with, who basically wouldn't give him the time of day and doesn't reciprocate the feelings. And he was asking me pretty persistently, how can I use my dreams to get her to fall in love with me? And my response was, oh, dude, you don't want to do that. You don't want to go down that road, because you might win the that is repelled. It's like a polarity. Like, she is you, but she's ignoring you. She's not interested in you. So how can you use her or what she triggers for you to become more self-aware, more enlightened within yourself? Because she clearly represents, and she's iconic within yourself. As Carl Jung would say, she's for a man, the woman that is there, usually the ideal woman represents your soul, the anima, and not enema, but anima. And the ideal thing, most people think that they're supposed to get that person to fall in love with them, and really the idea is to not try to pursue an actual relationship, but to work on embracing that energy within, and to have whatever visualizations, meditations, and work that you do much more internal, as opposed to trying to manipulate the outer world. Because often, we can do stuff like that. He might be able to get her to fall in love with him if he really practices, but he would know that he manipulated it, that it wasn't genuine, it wasn't happening on its own accord. And people do that kind of stuff. And I highly recommend that they keep it internal. Otherwise, it becomes kind of an external mess, if you know what I'm talking about. Is any of that making sense?
Absolutely. You got to be careful what you wish for. And even if your own conscious mind and subconscious, your own judgment basically could, if you did something like that, kind of eventually something will come back to haunt you, essentially. I can totally pick up on that. It's just basically karma. What I'm wondering is, if they've got people that actually do that kind of stuff, it makes me think of certain films that have been out in Hollywood, such as Inception. And if you can influence people with their dreams, then obviously that's going to have an impact on their waking life. So I wonder how far the government actually gets involved with that kind of stuff, and if it's ever used with not just like global leaders or dictators or these super billionaires of CEO companies and stuff like that to influence them. I wonder if they ever use them on just regular folk.
Wow. I would say anything's possible, and it probably is. And where I go with that is, I think we could get so freaked out by all of the things that are going on, and all the, the chemtrails and it's all a hologram, and it's our own hologram. So there's, and this isn't even the question that you asked, but this is where I go with it, because I know that it's possible to be like, oh my God, what are they doing? Ah, this is a scary universe. I know for sure that any kind of a scary anything in waking reality or in dreams is just an unfinished dream. And it's up to me, it's up to us to finish the dream and put it in a way that empowers us. To me, there's nothing more empowering, sometimes difficult to swallow. It's like swallowing a bitter pill, to see that all of those characters are aspects of ourselves. If I dream about the government, I had one dream actually where there was a guy in my dream, and he was working, and this isn't exactly like a high-powered guy, but he was a guy who was kind of like he owned a hospital in the dream, and it was a rundown hospital, and he was wearing like a 4-piece suit or a 3-piece suit. He was really well-to-do, and he had all this money, and yet the hospital that he owned that was making him rich in my dream was falling apart, and he wasn't taking care of the people in the hospital, yet he was profiting from it. And I saw him, and in my dream I was so angry at him. I was like, you are such a jerk. And I so wanted to just tear him down, like, you're the man and you need to burn. I was like wanting to like Burning Man. Burning Man is all about like burn the man, burn the system. And on the ice rink, I could see this father and daughter skating, and they were so cute together. I was like, oh, that's so sweet, this father and daughter. And then it got closer, and I could see that it was the man that I was so mad at. And it was like, wait a minute, I'm seeing this other side of him. And I couldn't help but feel like a compassion and an empathy and like a forgiveness of him, because there was this other side. And then he and his daughter come skating into my house, and it's Christmas, and I'm letting them in, and I'm allowing them to take part of this Christmas gathering. So that was a crazy dream that I had, I don't know, like a year ago. And it made me think, this guy, the man, the government, the health industry, all of these things that I think are so horrible, they're all aspects of myself that at some point need to be healed. And not that I think it's okay to have these parts be out of whack, but it's like, if I'm going to be any good in the world, I need to heal all of that energy within myself in order to in order to not bring a disturbed energy out there as I'm doing my best to make a difference. So that was kind of a long, rambly way of answering your question, but I do think everything and everyone is in us, and there's nothing to be afraid of. We have much more power over the circumstances in our lives than we realize.
There's like a Japanese doctor / psychologist that I read about one time, and he works with serial killers. And what he does is he essentially goes into these group sessions or meetings with these people where he goes in as what those people did is his fault. And he's the bad guy, and the reason they are where they are is because of him. And I wish I could explain it better. It was several years ago when I read it, but basically what I gathered from it is he helped people essentially by taking their pain and evil upon himself, and that filtered it out essentially. It was just a real weird way to look at it. And you look at the quantum entanglement theories and some of the ancient prophecies that talk about we're all one. So it's just fascinating to think about the awake world connected to the dream world and how they're all probably just as equally realistic and important.
Well, I'm completely blown away by what you just shared and this doctor. And I feel like this hits so close to home. I do feel like this is the work. And, it's so easy when we see somebody that's done something horrible to just write them off, give them an adjective and, an expletive, or call them crazy or a lunatic or whatever it is, and just put them in a box and leave them alone. But if, I think to have that level of empathy and compassion, that's where these things heal. There was, and I really would love it if everyone could, I don't know that we would all ever be able to drop in and be quite as empathetic as that doctor that you were referring to. But I mean, that's quite a gift. I think we, at least to some degree, we can deepen and have more of that. There was a really gnarly nightmare that I had a few years ago, and I was so troubled by it, especially because I'm known as Dr. Dream. I can work on any dream. There's no nightmare that scares me. Like, I can handle it. And yet I had this horrible night. Let's keep our fingers crossed. Okay. So in this nightmare, there's basically the short version of it is that there's a serial killer, and he's murdering everyone he can see, and he's like kind of walking down the street, just mayhem, and I'm hiding behind a bush. So and I wake up right before he's about to kill me. So he never kills me in the dream, but I know that he can see me and that I'm next on his radar. And I was so troubled by this dream, and I thought, what can I do with this dream? How could I possibly put a happy ending on this dream? There's nothing good about this. So what I ended up doing, and I'm not artistically inclined, meaning I don't normally draw or paint, but I decided to just draw what I saw. And so in stick figures, I kind of drew the image, and then I decided to draw another picture to see if I could try to break the spell of this dream and see how I would want to draw it differently if it changed. And I drew the second picture exactly the same way as the first picture, but the difference was in the second picture, I noticed that there was I drew a connection between each of the people that died. I kind of like an umbilical cord that connected them to something higher and that kind of went up into the sky to some kind of a light source. And I noticed that I finally drew all of the people that had been murdered. They had this like connecting link that led them to a higher source. And I thought, okay, so I don't feel so bad for them because I know they're going to be okay. They're connected to something higher. And then I tried to draw a connecting link between the murderer to the higher source, and I couldn't draw it. It was like, oh my God, this is why he was doing this, is because he was disconnected, kind of like a vampire that doesn't have its own connection. It needs to draw its energy from another life source or another life form. So I pushed through it, and I made myself draw an umbilical cord connecting the murderer to that higher source. And the moment everything changed. I could feel the energy of the murderer changing and becoming kind of ordinary. So in my mind, it was like he had been in a stupor. He had been disconnected from source, and that's what caused him to be so horrible. And I all of a sudden had so much compassion for this guy. And then I thought, okay, great. Why am I dreaming about this guy? Why and how is he a part of me? I mean, I'm a nice person. I'm not a murderer. But I thought, wow, whenever I feel disconnected, I basically, even though it may be more subtle than in this dream, literally going around butchering people, there's an energy of I can be kind of bitchy when I'm not feeling connected.
Nice.
Exactly. So where do I hurt people without meaning to, just because I'm disconnected? So to me, it was like, it was tremendous, because I felt like, okay, this is a message for me to up my game, up my spiritual practice. And it also gave me this sense of compassion for anybody who is acting abominably, anybody who's acting like a jerk. It's like, okay, their umbilical cord got disconnected. So imagine that I could refasten it, reconnect it, and imagine how they would behave if they were acting differently. Anyway, I've been using that as a tool that's given me this, I don't know, this is stuff that changes it inherently changes the collective dream that we're having on this planet. I think it leads us down a rabbit hole of a completely new way of dreaming our lives awake. I think it is big stuff. No wonder there's a conspiracy against us having this conversation. This is big stuff. This is big. It's good. It's cool. And I like the notion that the whole universe is conspiring on behalf of our greatest good. And it's just certain things are a challenge because we have to really own it. We have to really earn the right to be able to share this stuff. So it's a privilege to get to have this conversation with you, Rex. And thank you for taking it where you took it today.
Well, thank you for speaking with us. I certainly feel honored to have gotten to know you and get this information. And next time we get you on the show, we'll talk about your most recent book. I mean, I really wish we could have talked about this today, but because of all the issues we have, we can do this another time. It's Love, Sex, and Relationship, Dream Dictionary. I think this is one of your more recent books. And I just want to give a few titles for our listeners out there that have an opportunity to listen to this podcast here at the Leak Project. Folks, check out Kelly Sullivan, Walden.com. You've got access to 9 awesome books on here. The one that I just mentioned, and then Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions, and then the next title, It's All in Your Dreams, Dream Oracle Cards, I Had the Strangest Dream, Zone Golf. I like that name, Zone Golf. What's up with that title?
Yeah, that's the one book I wrote really especially for men. As a hypnotherapist, I've worked with all kinds of people and golfers and tennis players, and there was a period of time when I had all golfers coming to see me, and I created these hypnosis kind of meditations just for golfers. But really, even if you're not a golfer, you could use it, and it just puts you in the zone, which is, that sweet spot that we all want to get into. It's where we go when we fly. And my dad's a golfer, so I dedicate the book to my dad, and I've gotten a lot of people from around the world that have said that those meditations really help them in their golf game, and even one guy said it helped him to lose weight. It just helps you get back in the zone.
It's because he was golfing more.
Exactly, probably. Exactly.
And he was carrying his clubs.
Exactly, not using the golf cart.
Right on. Well, it sure has been nice speaking with you, Kelly. And just real quick before we close out tonight, if you would give our audience any more links that they might have access to your work, and look forward to speaking with you again sometime.
People can get a free 15-minute inquiry session with me at Dream Life Coach Training, and they can find me on Facebook at Kelly Sullivan Walden, Dr. Dream, Doctor spelled all the way out, Twitter at Kelly S. Walden, and Instagram is also Kelly S. Walden. And every day on Facebook, I do my dream card of the day. I do a dream oracle card reading, and I'm going to do one right now. So if people want to do that, they should just go and like my Kelly Sullivan Walden Dr. Dream page, and they can hang out with me every day as I do an oracle card reading.
Right on. And also, I'd like to recommend our audience go to leakproject.com, become an exclusive member at Leak Project. You'll get access to content only available there. Also, if you subscribe to our YouTube channels, youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord, and our William Wallace channel. Also, folks, just want to throw this out there for you. There's been dozens of channels that have been pirating our Leak Project material and posting new channels with exclusive Leak Project stuff. Just so you guys know, there's only 2 channels you're going to find Leak Project material. That's here at youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord, and our William Wallace channel that's linked specifically on Leak Project. So stay safe, everybody, and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Talk to you soon. Control your dreams, create your reality. Lucid Dreaming with Kelly Sullivan Walden. Have you ever wondered if you could influence someone in your dreams, and if so, do you think the clandestine government experiments with Dreamwork? We talk about that tonight here at the Leak Project. Tonight's guest is Kelly Sullivan Walden, and she is the leading expert on Dreamwork, a best-selling author, clinical hypnotherapist, and inspirational thinker with a heart of gold. Kelly has been jokingly called the love child of Carl Jung and Lucille Ball, and has reached millions of people with her fun and illuminating message on national talk shows such as Dr. Oz, Ricky Lake, Huffington Post Live, Coast to Coast, Playboy Radio, Jenny McCarthy Radio, and Fox News. Now, ladies and gentlemen, oftentimes during recordings there will be interference, and as I often call them, Skype gremlin attacks in a joking manner. And depending on the topic, as well as depth of discussion, there might be one disconnection, there might be 2 or 3, usually not more than that though. Now, during this presentation, Kelly and myself noticed that when certain topics were brought up, either her audio would mute or my end would. We reconnected over a dozen times during this show, and we were able to put together a very strong presentation that really makes you think. Have you ever seen the movie Dreamscape? It came out back in 1984 with Dennis Quaid. Remember the guy that could go into people's dreams and turn into a big reptilian? Literally the first reptilian shapeshifter, now that I think about it. The first movie that I saw, at least that I can remember, that had a reptilian shapeshifter in it was Dreamscape. Go back to that film, watch it. If you don't watch the film, just look up the trailer on YouTube or something because you'll catch what I'm talking about. It's really interesting when you go back and think about the movies that you saw growing up as a kid, or even maybe recently, if you break down the characters, the roles that they play, the situations that they're in, you start to learn these archetypes, and then you start to connect the images that they portray literally to the subconscious mind. And when you can pick up on that stuff, folks, it's a whole new world. Not only of excitement, of a depth of understanding, knowledge, synchronicity, and it's spooky too. When you get to that level and you start to see everything at a grand scale, or see more things, I should say, at a grand scale, you can see the yin, the yang, and what that creates. It seems as if in this dual universe that we reside in, these polarities create new objects, new opportunities, new realities. The red, the blue, the left, the right, the dark, the light. How can you have one without the other? I don't know. We're going to break down real quick. I want to break down what we talk about in this presentation. So not only do we discuss how to influence others, yourself, reality with dreams, Kelly gives us a depth of knowledge on what certain dreams mean. She shares with us a couple of personal dreams that she's had. Now, there's a new TV series right now coming out on the USA Network called Falling Waters, and that's an interesting sync in relating into what we're discussing here, as well as some of you guys, I'm sure, have heard of that underground base, or that supposed underground base in Dulce, New Mexico, that has several underground floors, and the further down you go, the scarier it's supposed to get. Well, the infamous Level 6 supposedly deals with dream manipulation, mind control, and soul siphoning. Many ancient cultures say the dream world is more real than the waking world, and more important. Have you ever had a lucid dream where you could actually control the outcome of what you were doing? Like a mad scientist almost, creating matter out of air? I've done it many times. I don't always get exactly what I'm trying to create, though. It's like there's still even variables in the dream world. I'll get really close sometimes, and sometimes I'll get exactly what I want. Become a dream warrior and learn how to influence your future in reality when awake. Also, make sure to become a contributing member at Leak Project. You'll get access to exclusive content and help Leak Project grow. The more funds Leak Project gets, the better treasures we can bring you, the audience. It's expensive to go on scene for stories. Just the fuel alone isn't cheap. Then you've got the equipment, lodging, travel expenses, etc. And I do my best to pay for that out of my own pocket. We've done a few mini trips this year that have been great. And we want to do a full countrywide tour this year as well. So we'll get there. I want to continue to keep Leak Project free also. So if we can offer a quality service or product as well on top of the free service, we have an exclusive membership opportunity at leakproject.com for $10 a month, you guys. You can listen to the podcast commercial free. You can download them to your computer, to your phone, so you can listen to them on the road. You can listen to them streaming anytime on the site as well. You won't have the commercial breaks in between. And if we can get some contributing members on the Leak Project, that'll be fantastic. That'll really help us grow and get more material. And also, we've got some high-end decals for $10 you can pick up at the Leak Project. They're limited edition. We're only going to make a certain amount of those. And also available for a limited time, we're only making a limited amount of these as well, are quality, tag-free, pre-shrunk cotton Leak Project shirts. Pick yours up today and be a part of history. You can listen to our shows free at any time at leakproject.com, also youtube.com/clandestine Time Lord, and of course our William Wallace channel. Any other YouTube channels that are featuring our work are pirated and done so without permission. So thank you all that brought that to our attention. Enjoy this podcast and be the change you want to see. This is Rex Bear. Talk to you soon. All right, folks. Well, we have a real treat for you tonight here at the Leak Project. Kelly Sullivan Walden is with us, and she is going to bring more awareness about dreams. So this is incredible. I've always been fascinated with dreams. I myself have had lucid dreams before where I knew I was dreaming, and I felt like a mad scientist because I could kind of create things in my dreams, but they didn't come out quite the way I wanted them to always. So, so thanks a lot for joining us. How are you?
It's a